America's Great Loop. Fewer people complete this adventure than climb Mount Everest. It is a 6,000 nautical mile circumnavigation of eastern North America. It is the story of growth, from the lows and through the highs.
This is crazy!
Oh my god.
It is a journey of persistence, and today we finish our loop.
Our faces today.
We're so close!
Oh my god! Today has been 2 years in the making. Crossing your wake means that you've completed your Great Loop, and you've returned to a spot where your boat has already created a wake. We have 8 nautical miles remaining. Today, we're crossing our wake. Our Great Loop journey started in January 2021 when we bought our first boat, a 34-foot marine trader, after we altered our life plans once again in favor of travel and adventure. We never had even stepped foot aboard a trawler, and there we were.
We might be buying a boat.
We didn't even know how it handled in the water, but it met our 3 criteria. It was in our budget, it floated, and it was relatively safe. Plus, it met the Great Loop height and depth criteria, giving us all the green lights we needed to begin this journey.
We did our test run last night. We didn't film any of it because we were just learning, and everything was super overwhelming. The boat ran really great. So now, we're taking her back out because we're not ready yet. That's always a little nerve-wracking, but it looks like it went well.
We spent 1 month cleaning the boat, performing some maintenance, and preparing it for the journey ahead. We learned to be patient and give ourselves some grace as tasks took longer than expected. This boatyard has a mosquito problem, and the mosquitoes do not transfer malaria, they transfer a disease called manana. Our 0 prior experience meant that each task came with a learning curve.
Finally, we are done for real this time. Now that we know what we're doing.
She's pretty. Today is move-in day.
How's it going?
All the food and a lot of the supplies went on the boat today. It's kind of a hot mess inside.
We renamed our boat Pivot as a reminder of what led us to this boat in the first place. When life throws us curveballs, it's just an opportunity to embrace the pivot and enjoy the ride. With the support of our family, we had our official renaming ceremony in hopes that the God of the ocean would be kind to us on this journey. Little did we know that naming our boat Pivot would become a mantra for our entire Great Loop.
All right.
We took Pivot on a maiden voyage before we left for our Great Loop.
Our maiden voyage is going to be going down the St. Johns River, and it should take us a few days. There might be some bumps and bruises on the road, but as long as we don't sink, that'll be a win.
We have low expectations.
We do, but it should be a very pretty trip.
We just finished anchoring for the first time, just the 2 of us. I think it'll be a good learning experience for us. Overall, it was a really good day. We learned a lot.
Note to self, find more protected anchorages, not in the middle of a lake.
We set an anchor alarm. It went off already tonight. Little did we know at the time, we anchored on the leeward shore, which is why the boat thrashing into the waves gave us a pretty poor night's sleep.
Last night was painful.
The following morning, we found that we had dragged anchor on a crab pot line. We planned to go to a marina for a good night's sleep, only to pull into our assigned slip for the night when we slammed into pilings.
I need to practice my docking because that was a really bad docking. I hit 2 of the pylons right there. Started off really good, and then we just started drifting. And they asked why I was turning, and I didn't know why I was turning. I wasn't trying to turn, but I was turning.
It gave us a lasting memory of what not to do when docking the boat for the remainder of our trip.
But we did leave for a pump out, and we left, and it was a disaster. I hit the piling again, harder, knocked off our grill. So that's in the bottom of the river. It was on that little wooden block. I almost completely wrecked that. And the anchor actually hit another piling, and then I just like gunned it and aimed the boat out of there, and I think we hit another piling on the way out.
Yeah.
But
it was a total disaster. And then we
was
spent 30 minutes trying to practice. Ted got on the radio and called out to us.
Help us dock, really.
Yeah, help us dock. So.
Can we please have a 30-second dance party? Something like that?
Yeah. This time, leaving the dock was a success. With a horrible first night on anchor and 2 failures docking, it cemented how little we knew. We felt overwhelmed and lost at finding a solution to the challenges in front of us. Was buying this boat a mistake? We tried to reframe our mindset on the positives and keep moving forward. Gotta celebrate the little things in life, and that is a little thing in life.
We are at Pontoon Island State Park. We're gonna try to dock ourselves, so we're gonna go nice and slow. Good job!
We began an ongoing tally of positive docking experiences to outnumber our poor docking memories. For the next few months, we carried out this as a constant reminder that we were learning. Do you know how much I'm exhausted? But we are going to try to take Ollie to shore for the first time, like in our dinghy. So wish us luck. Since this was our maiden voyage, we still needed to figure out our daily routine for taking our dog Ollie to shore. During the maiden voyage, we also found out that our new white bed sheets had brown stains on them from leaks in our decks. Even though we've had a really enjoyable, very chill day, we are also dealing with leaks. And then our dinghy motor was on its last leg as we rowed our dinghy to shore. Should I be the one rowing? There was even one morning where we were getting passed by a local college rowing team. Oh, here comes a rowing team. They'll show us how it's done. They look like professionals. We are not. Hello, rowers. And laughed.
Oh, this is great.
But maybe the point of these failures or challenges were just disguised as an opportunity to learn.
I wanna take a trip to Mars. Nothing can break me, no, nothing can break me.
We are passing the marina that we crashed into twice. Not once, but twice. And we're gonna stop again just to try it out. Just kidding. We're throwing out the deuces. Never again after Bridge Marina. It's not you, it's us. Literally.
Our maiden voyage revealed how much we had to learn about the boat we had just bought. So today is the first day of our real trip.
Wow. The day is finally here. We are finally leaving this boatyard.
Looking back at the videos we made sitting in front of a camera for a short confessionals before we left the dock to start our Great Loop, I don't think either one of us could have expected the change and growth that was about to happen.
Hope you enjoy the journey. We are officially off on our adventure. I'm going back now. What do you think of our first day?
We made it! Our first day was in the books.
Okay, that's probably good enough. All systems go.
Linda's looking good.
Linda and Tara.
Embracing all of our firsts and leaning into the unknown became the theme of our boating journey around the Great Loop.
And continuing with the series of firsts, yesterday was our first time fueling, the night before was the first time of our batteries dying overnight. Today is our first time going through a major shipping city, Jacksonville. And to do that, we needed help. Luke is coming on board, and he's gonna help us navigate the barges and the increased traffic in Jacksonville until we get up into the intra-coastal. We're waiting on the train to cross the rail tracks above. This bridge is unnavigable when it's down.
So as we were going under this bridge, Luke pointed out, hey, it looks like the bridge is going down again. And it was. And the bells weren't going off. We immediately had to turn the rudder and get out of the way. So now we're waiting for the second train to go by. This railroad bridge gave us the first realization that captaining this boat meant we were always on our toes.
We are about to turn off the St. John's for the first time and turn on to the intra-coastal waterway.
When we arrived, we were surprised by how shallow the water was, not realizing it was low tide. This marks the start of our intra-coastal waterway journey. We were grateful to have the support of our family, who encouraged us to keep going. Maybe they could see our fears, but knew that the courage that we had to embark on this journey was more important.
It is the first day on our Great Loop.
The first few days came with a lot of trial and error.
We were following the channel markers because that's what you have to do out here. One color's on the right, one color's on the left. Then now at this point in the intercoastal, they switch. So instead of green being on the right, we have red on the right. And I was about to keep following the green on the right, but I was going to sea, which is that way. So good thing we didn't keep turning. Now we're crossing the inlet and not going out to sea.
Each time we anchored, we tried to learn from the mistakes on our maiden voyage. Since each location was new to us, we approached each spot with logical and thoughtful decisions. Or so we thought.
And we're trying to basically anchor in enough water to where when it gets low tide, which is like 7 feet less, we're still on the water. But not too deep to where if it gets high tide, it's, we don't have enough scope out for our anchor. Hopefully it sets. We're gonna set up some anchor alarms and we're gonna see how it goes. So this is definitely gonna be our windiest night yet at anchor.
We just spotted the wild horses that are known to be on Cumberland Island. The worries of our anchor were put on hold as we explored new destinations and learned the history of these unique places.
And this is definitely it's not the longest that we've left our boat on anchor before, because we did that in Blue Springs. We left it pretty long. We need to have more anchor faith, but we'll build that up over time. All right, we are coming out here. Is our boat still here? Yes. We are close to another boat though, which is kind of scary. The boat's pretty close to that other boat.
Yeah, it looks closer. That's not good. We might have to move it. I think we need to move it. We dinghied back to our boat at Cumberland Island in a squall. We had fears that we didn't even know we had until we were faced with them head on. Wow, what troopers our friends are. We did not promise a vacation, we promised an adventure. It was a little bit more bitter than sweet at first.
The rope was wrapped around the propeller that we used to dock there.
Our weather service in Jacksonville, Florida has issued a special marine warning for.
We were hyper aware of our anchor, each lightning strike, and how our boat reacted to the weather conditions. As new boat owners, we were scared, not knowing what exactly to expect.
Dungeon F. Advent Coast Guard, 6 Jacksonville, Florida, out.
That was awesome with the lightning strike right at the end there. Coast Guard's out as the lightning comes in.
Out. Boom.
Today we are experiencing our first storm, and it's really putting a test to our anchor. I'm just very grateful that it's not the middle of the night. As the weather cleared, it was time to continue our way north.
So that was definitely our craziest windstorm yet. Every day something new.
There was light after the storm, which meant that we enjoyed some incredible cruising.
Don't wanna play games out with the moves, don't wanna meditate. Girl, with you it's hard.
Each day was a new opportunity to put the lessons we learned from the previous days into practice. 4.9 feet.
If it was low tide right now, we would have just ran aground because we're staying within the channel markers, but this stretch doesn't really have a lot of them. And it was just 4-point-something feet, and since there's 6 feet of tide right now, we would have been on the ground.
We realized that this journey was not going to be easy, but we are glad to have made it through our first few nights alone, on anchor, relatively unscathed. Docking was our worst nightmare after our maiden voyage experience. We are heading to a dock, and docking is literally my worst fear.
And we are hopeful, nervous, anxious about docking.
Not necessarily for us, but for other boaters, as our tight handling skills left a lot to be desired. We needed to dock in Savannah, Georgia, which was known for strong currents and tidal changes. It was all about being strategic with the knowledge and the limited boating skills that we had. We timed the arrival during slack tide to optimize our docking conditions. Thanks to the help of some fellow loopers and marina staff who helped catch our lines, we docked without any drama. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay, thank you.
Anytime you can walk away, it's a good landing.
Yeah.
You know what a great landing is? When you can reuse the boat.
These small wins motivated us to keep going. This was the first night that our anchor alarm did not go off, so I think we're getting better at anchoring, which is a huge win. I'll take it. We had many ups and downs as we continued to cruise north. We made a pact to stick out this whole boat thing until we reached Charleston, South Carolina, where we'd there decide if we wanted to stop the Great Loop because juggling, learning how to boat, the Great Loop, and working full-time was too much, or if we'd continue to go on. After a lengthy discussion about how far we had grown in our boating skills in the past month, we decided to keep going.
Ready, first mate?
Ready. It's kind of ironic that the day after we decided to keep going became one of our most memorable days on the Great Loop.
We've run aground.
Dun dun dun!
It's low tide here, and we were trying to come into our anchorage for the evening, but yeah, I was on a work call, Jen was driving, and Jen kept us in the channel and didn't turn away, doing the first turn in. And so we kind of went, I took over, took her in, and we're trying to come back around over here to the other side because this is like a shoal right here in the middle. And we ran aground. Not exactly the plan, huh?
Thankfully, it was low tide and we popped off the shoal about an hour later. We cruised to our anchorage for the night, or so we thought. Cheers. And a great view tonight.
Yeah, look at that. We can see the ocean.
We can see the ocean. And we took Ollie out to a nearby beach. Ollie! Within 10 minutes of exploring the shells on the beach, Elliot yelled in a serious tone of voice that it was time to go. Ollie, come!
So a good Samaritan, Andrew from the sailboat that was behind us all day, came to the beach in his dinghy and said, "Are you in the trawler? Your boat's moved back 1,000 yards. It's still moving."
Returning to the boat was frightening. Our anchor alarm was going off as we boarded our boat.
This is our first time that our anchor is dragged. Well, we haven't been here, so.
Are you aground? Is your prop clear?
I'm not sure. Let me see. Yeah, we're not aground.
We pulled up our anchor and returned to the same spot we ran aground earlier that day, thinking that we can't drag anchor if we've run aground. It was solid logic for two tried and tired people.
Wild night.
Well, our day started off pretty fantastic, but quickly went to shit. So part of anchoring in not the best places is we have anchor watches. And now it's 2 a.m. I just did mine and we're looking good. Not moving too much.
Little did we know that these good Samaritans would later become good friends who we'd cruise several hundred miles with, or that one good deed from a fellow boater would set the tone of us lending a helping hand wherever we could to other boaters in need. The following day, we met our Good Samaritans, Gwen and Andy, as well as Scott and Shelley from Monagee, who explained to us the proper way to set an anchor, which opened up the world of anchoring with confidence. It felt like we were failing at this whole boat life thing, but maybe the point of these failures was to learn that failures are just part of the process.
It's amazing how some days can be so tough, like yesterday, and how some days can go so according to plan, like today, and be really nice.
The next month was full of many more firsts.
So this is the rock pile. Did we finally see Red 20?
What is that you see? That's our steering wheel, not on our helm station.
Never a dull moment, folks. Never.
And we're going into the Cape Fear River, the Cape Fear Inlet. Looks like we're gonna have almost 2 knots against us, which is 30% of our speed.
Pivot, you can do it, girl!
As our boating experience grew and we gained more skills, we were able to enjoy the journey. Cruising as the sun rose was relaxing, and we loved seeing the dolphins swim with our boat. We learned about boating history at maritime museums, explored cute South Carolina towns, enjoyed great anchorages with our new friends, and stayed at free docks in North Carolina. Each time we docked our boat, we tallied it in our ongoing count of positive docking experiences.
Great job, first mate. Killing the game. 1 dock at a time. Good job. We did it. Add that to the list.
So are we at 14 good docking experiences? Positive, not scary.
A couple weeks ago, we found out that there was a lock on this route, and we were like, what? There's a lock before the Northeast?
We didn't even expect to go through a lock until the Erie Canal, but found ourselves jumping in headfirst once again. As we prepared to leave the dock and head into the dismal swamp, we switched roles.
Jennifer is going to leave from the dock for the first time. A lot of firsts today.
I have yet to get us off the dock, primarily just because I'm nervous about it, so I have not done it. But it's about a month and a half into our journey. Time for me to start learning how to do this thing. So we're gonna give it a go. Hopefully I don't run into any pilings or slam us into anything we don't want to be slammed into, and acquire further boating skills. As we pulled off the dock, Elliot forgot to mention his key strategy for maneuvering the boat was to throttle the boat in and out of gear in keeping with our slower than slow approach to type maneuverability. As we left the dock, Elliot announced that he had to jump onto a meeting in 2 minutes. We let the lines off, put the boat into gear, and I almost ran into a pontoon boat. Elliot took over the wheel and gained control of the boat.
Leaving the dock did not go as planned. There were some choice words said. We're gonna try this again another time when we're not stressed and rushed.
It was not the ideal start to our day, but it was just another chance to improve our communication.
I took that one for the team, and we're gonna try again another time. But just wanted to show you, if you haven't gotten this from our previous YouTube videos, and I don't know what channel you're watching, but we are learning. Jumping into the deep end, bought a boat, no experience, and been living on it for a couple months. Our goal is for each of us to be able to do all of the activities, because in case I get incapacitated or Jen does, we need to be able to do each other's roles. It's just safer that way. So that's the goal. That's why we're doing this. And you know, I really had no clue when we started the boat, and now I have more of a clue. And we're learning every day, Every day is a new challenge, a new experience. Today we had one leaving the dock, and now we're gonna have another one going into the lock.
Thankfully, as we cruised up the Pasquotank River, the excitement from the morning evaporated. The calming nature of the dismal swamp was put on pause as we saw our first lock ahead of us. We didn't want a repeat of the morning, so we communicated our plan and roles as we entered the lock for the first time.
So we're going up 8 feet. We're sitting here at the lock. The lockmaster just walked by, made sure we're good, and now he's gonna open the lock. And we're still on 13, so check. And we are all alone here in this lock, so also makes me feel better. Wow. Water's coming in pretty fast.
We rose up 8 feet and considered our first lock a success. As we exited the lock,
We are officially in the dismal swamp.
we were surrounded by vibrant pops of spring green color mirrored onto the water. We didn't even know a place like this existed, and yet here we were on our own boat. It was magic. A few days later, we made our way to Portsmouth and Norfolk, Virginia.
We are coming back into civilization, and this is a huge shipping port that we're going into, so.
It's just wild for us to see because we haven't seen this many big boats ever.
Docking the boat wasn't as scary. We started to feel a sense of calm and ease in what we were doing. Up until this point, it felt like we were drinking from a fire hose and how much we could learn in such a short period of time. It felt like we were starting to get this whole boating thing, as a few things became easier.
We just missed the ferry.
You did it.
I know.
And we are so excited to finally be getting into the Chesapeake Bay.
As we cruised into the Chesapeake Bay, we were immediately reminded that we were still students who had a lot to learn. The mouth of the Chesapeake is exposed to the ocean. The rough conditions made me a little seasick for the first half of our day.
Land ahoy! We're surfing into Smith Island.
We arrived to Smith Island, Maryland, which is the last inhabited island of Maryland with a population of about 300 people. Smith Island is known for its Smith Island cake, which is a delicious multi-layered yellow cake with chocolate frosting. We docked at the bakery dock to try some of this noteworthy cake. The following day, Elliot stepped off the boat and slipped.
I just fell off the boat and broke my wrist.
We were helicoptered to the nearest hospital.
So officially I did break my arm.
Today is the day that I take over Elliot's job. It scares me a bit, but we were working towards this anyway. Now I'm just getting pushed in the deep end. I'm not a huge fan of getting pushed in the deep end, but that's okay.
We moved the boat to a long-term marina where I docked the boat for the first time, packed up our things, and left Pivot for the summer.
Bye, Pivot. We'll see you later. It's actually really sad that we're leaving her.
It was pretty heartbreaking to leave Pivot, and we had just started to feel like we were getting the hang of it all. Even though we were sad to leave, life has a way of working out. If we had not had this boating accident, we would have missed all of the positive series of events that had unfolded following Elliot's wrist break. 3 months later,
We made it back to Crisfield, Maryland, where our boat has been docked.
Pivot had survived through 2 tropical storms.
Our Great Loop in 2021 has been cut short.
We knew we had missed our opportunity to boat through the Great Lakes this season and would have to attempt the Great Loop the following year.
And in favor of completing the loop in 2021, we had been postponing some major work. But now, since that's not possible, we're gonna knock them out so we can have a great loop in 2022.
We embarked on our biggest boat project yet of replacing our leaky decks.
What have we gotten ourselves into?
Will this be as far as we get?
Would this be the death of Pivot?
Maybe.
Elliot and Jen, a saw and a hammer.
God.
And a dream.
Which required hard physical labor, lots of grinding, and fiberglass work.
2 months later, and we have officially done 90% of the boat. And we've saved the worst for last.
We also replaced our dreaded dinghy engine with an electric motor and upgraded our anchor to appropriately fit the size of our boat.
Wow!
That thing is huge!
It's gonna be amazing.
These changes and upgrades were crucial to making living aboard comfortable for the next year and a half. The seasons changed and it was time to head south for the winter. Heading south felt like a big step back. We had cruised on these waters before, which was a strange feeling since all of what we had done to this point was cruise in new to us territory. Fortunately though, we had company.
We're Andy and Gwen.
And this is our Tartan 37 Acadia.
As we made the 1,000-mile journey southbound, with each mile we learned an enormous amount from Andy and Gwen and their sailing experience. It was the hands-on learning we desperately needed, and we were fortunate enough to have gotten to learn from such kind and generous people who had patience with us.
We've been going a little bit slower here on pivot heading southbound, so we think we have a little bit of growth on our prop. Gwen and Andy did let us borrow their wetsuits.
Are they really barnacles on it?
Yeah. Oh, we have really hard growth all over our propeller, all over our rudder.
Little did we know that this trip south would give us time to learn, grow, and become better boaters.
It's kind of wild to think back to almost 2 years ago when we started this journey, because today, as we're about to leave the dock and for the last time as loopers, after this we will be gold loopers leaving the dock. We were so afraid to leave the dock the first time, and I was very nervous that we were going to be bumping into the pilings again, that we could hit boats and all these things. There were many fears that I had and a lot of anxiety. But like working through that in the past 2 years has been probably one of the best things. I think as I look back on this past 2 years, I'm just incredibly proud at how much both Elliot and I have grown. Between Elliot growing as a captain, I've grown in working through anxiety, working through a lot of stress and nerves. Looking back and seeing that growth, today just kind of feels like a graduation day or any other day that you're just like really proud of, like the day that you land your first job or that you graduate from college or anything else that's just kind of like big and celebratory and really meaningful. It kind of feels like that today. It's kind of a wild ride, like the Great Loop. Like you don't ever really know what you're going to be going through until you've gone through it. But I kind of feel like that's like travel in a nutshell. You come back like a completely different person, and there's a beauty in that. It's kind of incredible, like just going from like essentially like zero to boating, zero to Great Loop, zero to gold. Today is about savoring the journey and savoring the day and taking in and celebrating this achievement. I just can't believe we've done it. I mean, we haven't done it yet, but like we're this close. I get pretty emotional. What do you think about the loop? Are you happy that we're finishing? Are you proud of us? You are a great deck swab.
Excuse me, sweetheart. Can I sit down? Thank you. It is finally here. The day we've been working for over 2 years. It's honestly super surreal. It really hit me. We've been talking about it the past few videos, but it really hit me this morning waking up. It was like Christmas morning, could not sleep. And it's just very bittersweet. Much more bitter this morning than it has been. It's been kind of sweet at least about the past few days, but now it's very bitter because it's
This has been our life, like everything about our life for the past 2 years. Goals and day-to-day and planning and you name it. And I am just excited to don the gold flag, cross our wake, and complete the journey, accomplish the journey, finish the journey. But right now we're just trying to be present and appreciate this chapter and the culmination of our efforts and goals and trials and tribulations over the past 2 years. So let's cross our wake. There's nothing to it but to do it.
Today starts our 6,000 nautical mile journey around the United States.
In Key West, Florida.
After a winter in the Keys, we restarted our Great Loop on March 2nd, 2022. This time, we felt ready for the challenge ahead. Leaving for the second start of our Great Loop felt dramatically different than our first attempt less than a year ago. We are more comfortable on our boat and on the water. We weren't surprised by the shallow water in Florida Bay.
I really do not enjoy going through very shallow sections, like 5 feet or less. My hands are sweating.
But we also had confidence that if we stayed in the channel, we would be just fine.
It's so nice having a working dinghy motor and being able to actually do things off a pivot.
We felt like locals as we revisited some of our favorite spots in Islamorada.
Now this is probably my favorite anchorage in all of the Keys.
Hold your goggles.
The second start of our Great Loop meant we were able to put into practice so many of the skills and knowledge we learned from Gwen and Andy. As we traveled north through the Florida Keys, we knew what to look for in a protected anchorage.
Holy cow, it says it's blowing 26 miles an hour.
Heading back up the east coast of Florida was familiar territory, as we had just cruised this about a month ago, and generally knew what to expect.
We have a ton of bridges. It's just gonna be Bridge Central here, from here for the next 2 days pretty much.
We knew how to navigate through the bridges and to prioritize weekday boating through South Florida to avoid boat traffic.
There is so much traffic today. It's just the radio's non-stop chatter. It's hard to pick out the important things versus just the clutter.
How to take our dog Ollie to shore, and how to work together on our boat. Clear communication is key on a boat, and was something we practiced every day as we put our boating skills to the test.
Any cleats like that, it's going to be easy for you to tie to. So we might have to go to the mooring first. How you looking, love?
Not ready.
Okay. I'm going to try to get you a little bit closer.
We did it.
As we became more comfortable with boat life, so did our dog Ollie. She went swimming for the first time.
She's prancing.
She never swims. That's just...
She hates the water.
She hates the water, but like, she loves like getting things in the water. I don't know what it is.
Learned a new vocabulary word.
Dolphin. We cannot say the word dolphin because Ollie goes looking for the dolphin.
And enjoyed daily life aboard Pivot. We were given some reminders that we still needed to stay on our toes.
We just like hard ran aground.
Our gauges stopped working. Our temperature is high. One thing's for sure, it smells hot. Looks like the V-belt broke.
I've never changed the timing belt before.
You know, just whenever you think like, oh, you're getting it. No, there's always more to learn, always.
And we'll be able to practice our night cruising. Practice makes perfect, you know? You don't always choose when you get to practice.
Cruising in Georgia felt like we were back on the Great Loop.
We love cruising through Georgia. It does have its challenges with its shoaling, but it is 110% worth it.
as we cruised north to all familiar destinations.
We're in Georgia!
You know what this is?
We're in South Carolina!
We're in North Carolina!
State number?
Although we were cruising on waterways we'd experienced before, we had several guests aboard, which made these waterways more special as we got to share these memories with people we love.
But now we're in a killing spree to try to get rid of the no-see-ums inside the boat.
You can see Pivot from the outside, it's just like...
It's like fireworks.
It is.
Oh, it was an amazing day. It was an amazing adventure.
Joy is who you share it with.
We pushed ourselves to constantly learn new boating skills because we never knew when a situation would require them later on.
We have a very tight approach. We're gonna attempt to stern in if everything looks good.
Looking better whenever you're doing something better.
Thank you, appreciate your help. That was tough. I think that might have been my second time I've ever backed in to a slip. We had some amazing people catch our line, so thank you guys so much. What's our motto? Slower than slow.
This right here is my favorite part about owning a boat and about doing America's Great Loop, the dolphins.
It wasn't all dolphins and beautiful sunsets though, as we had a few pivotal learning experiences along the way. We were about to experience our scariest day on our Great Loop. The Neuse River, Pamlico Sound, and Albemarle Sound are notable for having nasty chop with a particular wind direction. It can be deceiving as you travel the protected waters of the intra-coastal waterway for the previous 1,000 miles, that when you enter these exposed bodies of water, you forget to take into consideration wind direction, fetch, and the weather conditions within your comfort zone. We were still developing our go versus no-go parameters, and this day was at the cutoff.
Well, we're getting some pretty decent waves right now. That went from bad to worse, and we got just hammered. Everything on the port side of the boat kind of went to the starboard side. So we had to change plans. Pretty scary. So waves are rough right now.
It just makes me feel very naive and very foolish. This is how you learn, but this is just a really not fun learning experience.
Within a couple hours of our cruise, our high water alarm went off. We were taking on water, and the automatic sensor on our bilge pump wasn't working.
What we have to figure out is that is if we have a leak or not.
Leaving over a foot of water in our boat. We immediately went into problem-solving mode, dropped our anchor, and assessed the problem.
So it's not leaking there, not leaking out of the transmission. The only other place it would leak is the salt water pump, or the water intake valves.
Trying to figure out the source of the leak, our analysis was that the water was coming in through our low through holes without check valves.
The sooner that we can get to a safe place, not in the middle of the Pamlico Sound, the sooner that we can figure out the problem. I think we should just get a new bilge pump.
Since the automatic sensor on our bilge pump wasn't working, which caused the water to remain inside the boat instead of getting pumped out.
That high water alarm really saved our asses, huh?
Today it's one of those days where I ask myself, why are we doing this? Today is a very scary boat day. We've had some highs, and this morning was definitely a low.
That day, we learned the importance of not having a schedule on a boat, as our upcoming plans had pushed us to leave the protected anchorage and enter conditions that were outside of our comfort zone.
Yeah, the first thing that you think of whenever you see a lot of water in the village is like, oh crap, we have a leak and like we're sinking. Yeah, pretty close to one of the worst things that can happen.
We were given a hard lesson in weather, swell, and decision making. The critical lesson we learned on this day was everlasting and something we remembered for our entire Great Loop.
Today is going to be a good day.
Today is going to be a good day.
Virginia!
I've ever seen so many loopers together.
I know, ever, right?
We're gonna go stern in. Thank you guys for your help. All right. Sweet.
Well done.
Wow.
I want to be you.
You got to see the best, okay? It's not always like this.
We were going to our very first America's Great Loop Cruisers Association rendezvous.
We spent 1 week in Norfolk, Virginia for the AGLCA Spring Rendezvous, meeting so many great prospective, current, and gold loopers.
We have some gnarly weather coming. I think on Sunday it's basically consistently blowing 30 plus knots.
We headed to Hampton, Virginia. A nor'easter caused most loopers to wait for a favorable weather window, as conditions on the Chesapeake Bay were unfavorable.
We fixed our bilge pump it's huge.
Before we entered the Chesapeake, we replaced our bilge pump to learn from the mistakes on the Pamlico Sound just days before. After waiting for a comfortable weather window,
Back into the Chesapeake.
and quickly found a leak,
So we heard like a clank, and we noticed there was a lot of water coming down through the bilge.
as a steady stream of water was causing our newly installed bilge pump to constantly run.
Never a dull moment. Never.
It felt like a replay of our nightmare on the Pamlico Sound with water in our boat, except this time it was coming from our shaft seal.
Like these, I'm really happy that we fixed the bilge pump.
Me too.
We limped our way to Deltaville, where we spent an entire day compressing the bellows of the shaft seal.
Everything is fine and dandy, except for the thing that I'm supposed to move back is stuck. It's not really moving. So that's the challenge. It's the current challenge.
Trying to move this stinking shaft seal. The last 10% of the project, it always takes the longest.
Nothing could have prepared us for how mentally draining and physically exhausting moving a shaft seal a 1/4 inch would be. Although these moments were really tough, they were some of the best lessons on the water. These experiences were reminders of humility and the respect we had for the water.
Okay.
The next day, we began our idyllic Chesapeake Bay experience. We enjoyed all the small town charm, ate fresh crab cakes in Reedville, dodged crab pots scattered throughout the bay.
We made it, Maryland!
We saw countless maritime museums, ate delicious ice cream in Oxford, helped our friend Chris when his boat started dragging anchor, and later celebrated with beers, and assisted a local waterman when his engine didn't start. It felt like redemption as we had the Chesapeake Bay experience that we imagined when we first learned about the Great Loop. You never quite know where you're going to be or what you're going to experience on the Great Loop. That's probably why the saying, "no two loops are the same," is so true. We were delighted that our timing in Annapolis aligned with watching graduation week festivities at the Naval Academy in Annapolis. Followed by the Blue Angels show. We felt like locals surrounded by boats in the Annapolis mooring field with their Maryland state flags enjoying the start of their boating season. There are a few defining moments along this journey that made us take a hard look at just how far we had come since leaving the dock for the very first time. The feeling of pride when we saw landmarks that had a greater degree of importance as we embarked on this journey. The Bay Bridge that joins the eastern shore with the mainland of Maryland was our first of many landmarks that became more than just a bridge.
It's kind of a bit emotional. We're about to go under it, which isn't exactly like a finish line or anything like that, but it's just a visual symbol of going further. And it's really exciting. Made it under the Bay Bridge!
2 weeks on the Chesapeake Bay wasn't enough time to explore all of the history, culture, and life that this area had to offer. Like most places on the loop, we were sad to leave, but we knew we had to keep going. With each mile and accomplishment we had, we equally had a learning experience accompany it. After a few days off the boat for a family wedding, we left the dock without knowing the 3 mishaps that we're about to have that day. As we were leaving the dock, we misjudged the strong current which caused us to come very close to another boat.
was extremely not good.
Minutes later, after getting fuel, our bow thruster stopped working and we slammed into the dock. It was the realization that we needed to learn to not rely on our bow thruster. Later that afternoon, we dropped anchor in a tight anchorage on Chesapeake City. Our final mishap of the day was when a storm came in and made the boats change directions and put our boat within feet of a catamaran. Anchoring etiquette meant that we needed to move since we were the last to drop anchor.
Oh my God.
It's probably more our mistake than their mistake because we were the second person to anchor. They were here first.
Thankfully, like most mishaps on our Great Loop, there's a lesson and a silver lining just waiting for us around the corner. In this case, it was meeting our friends Bill and Margie. Little did they know that offering to let us raft with them for the night would be the start of our friendship. It's these little things, like kind gestures from people who just minutes before were strangers, but then they become friends, and that really stuck with us. 2 days later, we woke up in the pitch black so we could time our crossing of the Delaware Bay with optimal wind and tide conditions.
From our friends, Danny and Gwen, so they really helped us a lot with planning. We were going back and forth about weather windows and stuff.
The C&D Canal was lined with lights that made navigating it easy. After 2 hours of slowly creeping towards the Delaware Bay,
Hey Siri, what state am I in? Middletown, Delaware!
Nice!
Yeah! We made it to Delaware!
State number 7!
7!
we had the current in our favor.
Doing 8.5 knots. This is
Awesome.
This is the bee's knees.
You're going double digits. It is crazy.
What state am I in right now? You're in Greenwich, New Jersey! Another state!
State number 8!
With glass-like conditions. Another moment of nerves and anxiety was put to ease as we transited the Delaware Bay thanks to some help from our Good Samaritans, Andy and Gwen, who helped by giving us a second opinion when looking for these optimal weather conditions. We arrived to Cape May and enjoyed a beautiful night on anchor. The next day, we had planned to wait out the forecasted windy weather with some morning work and followed by checking out the town of Cape May. But that morning, we woke up to heavy winds and an unforgettable sight out of our window.
A little bit of excitement this morning. Our looper friends, another sailboat here in this anchorage, is now wrapped around their anchor chain. The wind really picked up today. It's consistently 15, gusting to mid-20s. And on top of what Bill and Margie are going through, there's a boat, a big trawler, it has to be like 60 feet. They anchored in front of everybody, and slowly throughout the morning they've been moving back and back and back. I tried to hail them, they didn't answer. We hailed a sailboat that was also staring at them and chatted about it.
He definitely was dragging, right? Yeah. It looks like you're dragging. Yeah. Just wanted to let you know we tried to hail you.
It's not always the most fun and enjoyable sight when you see a lot of action going on at 6:45 a.m.
You either are the show or you watch the show. We were the show in Chesapeake City, we're watching the show here, but also interacting. It's a very interactive show.
To top it off, a catamaran was dragging anchor in front of us and becoming closer with each passing minute. Elliot immediately jumped into action, where he assisted them in resetting their windlass and removing the debris from their fouled anchor. He lent a helping hand to our friends Bill and Margie as they untangled themselves from the sailboat after 6 hours of tedious work. All these moments were keeping us on our toes and making sure that we never got too comfortable. We were students after all, constantly boating in new waterways and environments.
Mission accomplished. Everybody in the anchorage is anchored and secure with their own anchors.
Our next 2 cruises were some of the most anticipated parts of our Great Loop.
We have been concerned, planning, strategizing,
Very mindful
of this journey of the loop for the past few weeks.
Yeah. the Atlantic Ocean around New Jersey.
Very comfortable, like a little rough just at the very beginning, but it's kind of smoothed out and has become even more calm. So far, we're just kind of rolling with the motion of the ocean.
I had anxiety before we bought the boat and starting this adventure, but some parts of the loop made my stress and anxiety and fear reveal itself even more. The big bodies of water like the Atlantic Ocean were especially nerve-wracking, as the thought of rough waves, the lack of visible shoreline, and the realization that we are responsible for solving any issue that may arise brought with it fear and a lot of anxiety. Did we have what it takes? We had only owned our boat for a year. We had never even been on the Atlantic Ocean before. The what-ifs in my head were endless. As we left Cape May, we embarked on our first experience in the Atlantic Ocean, but we weren't alone as we had our buddy boat with us, Bill and Margie, and the conditions looked impeccable. Mother Nature was kind to us and gave us one of the most beautiful cruises on the Atlantic we could have ever asked for. We made our way into Atlantic City, and the first half of New Jersey was over.
We made it!
We have our most ambitious day ahead of us. It's 4:50 right now. We're attempting to go all the way from Atlantic City around Sandy Hook into Sandy Hook, New Jersey.
The second half didn't quite go as smoothly as we had hoped. After waiting 5 days for a good weather window, we left Atlantic City for the swells of the Atlantic. As soon as we turned north out of the channel,
There was a good amount of swell just outside of the inlet in Atlantic City, and we got some pretty big swell on the beam. Like the boom on top of the dinghy kind of flew off to port and swung the dinghy out. It didn't fall off, it swung it out. So really next time we need to make sure we tie off the boom arm.
it was completely our mistake for not tying it down properly. That was only the beginning of our problems on our offshore cruising.
We're having that fuel issue that we had back in the ICW. Basically, when we're low on fuel, we sip air into the lines and then the engine dies. And so we had to turn off the engine and I had to bleed it while we're in the Atlantic.
It caused some heightened anxiety and nerves. Fortunately, we could see the safe harbor in the distance.
We made it out of the Atlantic. Oh my God, not how I was hoping it would do it.
Taking our boat around New Jersey and into the Atlantic Ocean was rather humbling. It reminded us that we were at the mercy of the ocean and Mother Nature. It tested my patience as we chugged along at 6 knots and had one of the longest cruises on our adventure. It forced me to face my fears and anxiety, put my trust in Elliot, our boat, and have faith in our abilities as a team. There were plenty of things that we should have done differently, but each served as a lesson that we carried with us each time we faced another large body of water.
On land in a week? You want to go to land in the first time in a week? You want to go for a walk? Oh my goodness.
What? A walk on land? Oh my goodness. We made it!
To our ninth state
of New York.
Woo! Welcome to New York.
This is probably the cruise that sold me on doing the Great Loop. And today we are cruising to the Statue of Liberty.
The Atlantic was past us, and we were back in protected waters. It was another milestone under our belt. There are a few moments that feel almost surreal on the Great Loop. Similar to the significance of cruising under the Bay Bridge, taking our boat under the Verrazano Narrows Bridge was one of those surreal moments.
We are so close to the Verrazano, and it's kind of crazy because growing up on Long Island, we would come into Staten Island to visit family, and we would drive over the Verrazano Bridge so many times. But this bridge is just so iconic to me. It is absolutely wild that we are about to go under it right now. Woohoo! That was pretty cool. Going underneath the Verrazano Narrows Bridge.
Moments later, we'd be cruising past the Statue of Liberty, taking pictures with our buddy boat and anchoring next to Ellis Island. The water was choppy from all the boat, ferry, and commercial traffic in the upper bay. Shortly after, we received a call.
Jennifer's cousin works for the NYPD scuba rescue team, and they're out in the city and trying to do a flyover. Who knows if it'll happen? We're on the lookout.
That afternoon, the local sailing clubs came out for a sail, and we had front row seats.
And here we have Lower Manhattan at sunset.
This was one of my favorite memories from our trip.
Put my feet in the water.
The best part was sharing it with my mom. Looking back on this day, I don't think little Jen ever thought that she'd be going under the Verrazano Narrows Bridge, past the Statue of Liberty, or anchoring next to Ellis Island on her own boat. The next day was rainy, but nothing could have taken away the wonder of cruising up the Hudson River. From our family history of arriving at Ellis Island by boat, to the mix of modern architecture with historic buildings that tell a deeper story, I was in awe.
We are leaving New York, and this was such a special cruise for me. This has been on the top of a bucket list in terms of the Great Loop of what places we were going to see and things to do. This was it.
There was absolutely nothing that prepared us for how beautiful the Hudson River Valley really is.
First time we're anchoring in mountains.
I know, this is crazy.
Isn't this incredible?
Yeah.
Hudson River is beautiful and really wide. And as Jen said, there are a lot of mountains on either side of us.
My, oh my, a kiss, and so I did.
We anchored near castles and enjoyed the biggest farmers market on our Great Loop. We passed picturesque lighthouses as our boat was between mountains. We enjoyed the last bit of tidal current, which gave us an extra boost. We crossed paths a few more times with Bill and Margie as we enjoyed finding free docks and walking around the cute Hudson River towns. Our short time on the Hudson ended with an award-winning ice cream on the Great Loop in Troy, New York.
This ice cream place, the Dutch Udder, we overheard them saying they had the #1 vanilla ice cream voted at the World's Fair.
The following day,
we are starting the Erie Canal, and today we have the Flight of 5.
Flight of 5! Starting the Erie Canal is like drinking water from a fire hose for anyone who doesn't have a lot of locking experience.
The challenge is that when we start the Flight of 5, you can't stop. The locks 2 through 6.
Can't stop, won't stop.
Can't stop, won't stop.
We got a crash course on how to lock.
That was awesome.
Communicating with a lock tender.
Bye, Joshua.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Learning the how-tos of locking in the Flight of 5 as locking became part of our everyday lives. The first few locks on the Erie Canal can be overwhelming from their scale.
This is unreal. You feel so small, you're dwarfed by these walls. It's really pretty, but kind of stressful. As you dock and you undock literally every 5 minutes. Current wind pushing you in 50 feet wide or 40 feet wide, whatever it is, concrete area.
And you feel like you don't have enough time to catch your breath.
Which led to countless
Holy cow, holy cow, holy cow, holy cow, holy cow, this is intimidating.
reactions.
We've conquered the Flight of 5.
Going through the locks each day made us critically assess our boating skills.
We're really happy to be doing the locks now in our boating career because we've had so much practice. Docking was by far our least favorite activity, and it actually gave us a ton of stress. And now, like, we're docking and undocking and leaving docks and weather and locks, and it went well.
Life on the canals came with a slower pace of life that we leaned into and embraced. It was a matter of letting go of daily mile goals as our schedules were in the hands of the locks and their operating hours.
Ollie, how are you enjoying the lock so far? Lots of places to go run around, huh?
We began to deeply enjoy the routine of locking, as the novelty didn't wear off with time.
This is awesome!
This is so cool! Oh my gosh!
And loved spending so many nights on the Erie Canal walls.
I know what you mean to me. Yes, I know.
The Great Loop has several different routes for boaters between New York and Chicago, Illinois. A few factors dictate which routes boaters can take, including a boat's height clearance, where they're interested in traveling, and what waterways are open.
I know what you mean to me.
Thank you, sir.
Anytime, guys.
Have a good weekend and enjoy the 4th.
You too. Have a good day.
Thanks.
After spending 2 weeks on the Erie and Oswego canals, it was time to cross Lake Ontario.
We're trying to make sure that this crossing sets the tone for all of our Great Lakes adventures in the future in this loop.
There was quite a bit of trepidation that led up to seeing our first Great Lake, since just a month earlier we were in the Atlantic.
We have just got into the lake and it is like glass right now. I hope it stays like this all day.
We wanted the lessons from our Atlantic Ocean and Pamlico Sound experiences to be ever present when planning our first Great Lake crossing, since we knew the Great Lakes should be treated with the same level of consideration and respect as an ocean. If you had told me on the Pamlico Sound or the Atlantic Ocean that crossing Lake Ontario was going to be fun, I would have thought that you were being sarcastic. The weather was impeccable and was something that I'm still grateful to Mother Nature for to this day.
Today's crossing of Lake Ontario has been a real treat. I feel like I'm getting emotional about this, even though I didn't want to get emotional. I've been so anxious about all these big bodies of water, and today has been pure magic. It has been so nice, so enjoyable, and I've really loved it. Like, I've loved every part of it. It's just been so fun.
Several hours later, we saw land.
We have made it to the St. Lawrence River, and it is such a relief to have crossed Lake Ontario.
We're on the St. Lawrence River. Hey!
It was an emotional day in the best ways. As we entered the Thousand Islands, I met our Canadian friends, Nick and Kevin, in St. Vincent, who taught us what summer in the Great Lakes is all about. Swimming in crystal clear water and enjoying the long summer days. This region of the Great Loop quickly became one of our favorites. As we crossed the border into Canada and began to understand why so many people raved about the Thousand Islands.
It's stunning, like absolutely, oh my gosh.
We spent 3 nights at the Thousand Islands National Park.
We're in like a magical playland, like playground, like.
This is the best day ever.
I think I like Canada a lot.
And felt like kids at summer camp.
We're really floating down the river.
As we rode our first natural, lazy river back to our boat on repeat.
How do I look?
Ready. All the way. You ready?
Good girl!
It was joy in the most pure form.
Okay, that was awesome. Let's do it again. This has to be probably one of my favorite days on the loop ever. This is so much fun, and this is like why we do the loop. To experience new things, to learn how different people do things. So right now we're learning how Canadians do summer, and I have to say, I'm a big fan.
We fell in love with the Thousand Islands and were sad to leave such a special spot. Little did we know that this was just the start of one of the best summers of our entire lives. One of the bright sides of not completing our Great Loop in 2021 was that the borders reopened to Canada, giving us the opportunity to boat through some of the best freshwater cruising grounds in the entire world. The Trent-Severn Waterway is a 240-mile-long waterway that connects Lake Ontario to Lake Huron through several rivers, lakes, and man-made canals.
It's so crazy. We are on the Trent-Severn Canal, like something that we've heard about.
It feels surreal to be here now.
It goes through 44 locks and has been called one of the finest interconnected systems of navigation in the world. We started our Trent-Severn experience on a windy day that immediately kept us on our toes.
Is that wind taking over the boat? Yeah, a little bit.
It's quite a bit of wind.
The wind was hitting the concrete walls of the lock chamber, making it more challenging to navigate the boat in tight spaces.
I'm especially happy to be here today because we did the Erie Canal, because we got the practice and the training on all the locks on the Erie with wind at our stern, challenging situations. These are not easy docking situations, and so I'm just appreciating how much we've grown, how much we've learned, and how we take every opportunity as an opportunity to learn and grow.
Yeah, I think I was just telling Elliot like how grateful I am that we're doing the loop, because it really has like pushed us into a variety of situations, environments, conditions, and so we've really learned a ton. We've really tried to, make sure that we're always in that upward growth. The Great Loop is an excellent way to learn how to boat if you're engaged in learning and wanting to learn how to boat. That one went so well.
I tried a different strategy. I tried driving the boat and relying less on the bow thruster.
With each lock, we marveled at the conceptually simple, yet complex system that moved our boat up and down several feet.
Is it hard?
Oh yeah.
It looks hard.
Oh my gosh.
It gets easier as soon as we break the seal.
Oh wow, it actually is going pretty fast.
Yeah, it's like rolling over it.
You're doing that. You're going nice and slow.
Slower than slow. It's the only way.
Not too bad. Not too difficult.
No, you got the easy job.
Operating the locks and seeing the parts move as hundreds of gallons of water rushed through the chamber was interesting to see firsthand.
Whoa! That was so cool!
As we traveled through the locks, we saw some of the impacts the invasive species have on the waterways.
Lock 10's walls are covered with mussels. There are 2 types of mussels that are invasive species throughout this whole entire region.
It revealed how delicate and interconnected our environment really is. The Parks Canada staff exceeded our expectations to help us navigate safely and efficiently through the locks.
Do you like the locks?
Canadians are like literally the kindest people. They're like, oh yeah, let me give you a call. Oh yeah, let me go out of my way to help you.
Up until the Trent-Severn Waterway, we were primarily boated by ourselves, as our work schedules meant that we were heads down in our computers while other loopers were enjoying sundowners and socializing. This was the first time we really got to soak up the Great Loop community and take in the small moments with fellow loopers that make this trip so special. Our Ford Layman, Super 135, named Linda, gave Elliot an opportunity to learn the ins and outs of diesel engines, as it required constant upkeep.
We're going to do an oil change on our main engine. We're going to do a transmission oil change, which I did not do the last time. We have a new oil filter. I'm also going to change the fuel filter. I also have a new zinc. I'm going to change that for the main engine.
It was another opportunity to learn new skills. The Trent-Severn also gave us plenty of learning opportunities. We continued to experience several firsts, including double locks.
Holy cow. Oh my gosh, this thing is huge. Holy cow.
We honed in on our communication skills as we worked as a team.
I need you to be on my port side, aft. That was awesome.
The locks constantly kept us on our toes, forcing us to become more proficient in our boat's tight maneuverability.
Holy cow.
It's like we're in a waterfall.
Yeah, no, I'm getting misted on my face.
The Trent-Severn Waterway also has the most unique locks on the entire Great Loop. The first was the Peterborough lift lock.
The highest lift lock in the world. It's gonna be awesome.
Oh, here it is. Wow, that is awesome. I'm so excited.
It was quite a memorable experience, as Ollie had her own personal cheering squad.
Go Ollie!
Oh my gosh.
It's so fast.
Holy cow.
If there is, if you guys back here can see them.
Goodbye.
We even had a personal tour of the control tower by the lock master, Ed, who explained the physics behind the lock.
Brass valve forcing the water through the crossover valve and drives the lighter chamber to the top.
This is one of my favorite lock stays so far.
The second of the 3 unique locks on the Trent-Severn Waterway was the
Kirkfield lift lock. We are officially at the highest point of the Trent-Severn Waterway. It's all downhill from here, folks.
Although this lift lock you don't go up as much, it's a very different experience.
And we're still very high up. Like,
Yeah,
looking
we're
out
very
that
high.
way, wow. This
Yeah.
is awesome. How cool. Ah, this is awesome.
We often found ourselves in disbelief that we were here, on these locks, on our own boat. The third unique lock on the Trent-Severn Waterway was the Marine Railway, also known as the Big Chute.
Literally, Pivot will be going onto like basically a train car. The train car will take Pivot outside of the water, over this highway, onto the other side. It's gonna be incredible.
Oh my gosh, my heart is pounding.
I know, right?
That was smooth, thank you.
Holy cow. What? Wow.
The rainy and overcast weather couldn't take away from the smiles and joy we had on the Big Chute. We felt like kids.
What do you think?
This is so cool! I just can't believe it. We're going down, and it really does feel like our bow is going down. Like, I know that
It's level.
it's offset to be level, but yeah, and we're just like going down a mountain. This is crazy!
Oh my god.
This truly was the adventure of a lifetime.
This being our full last day on the Trent-Severn is really sad because this area is so beautiful and it's gorgeous. I mean, like, and it's something that we've never cruised through before at all, not even close. So just getting the opportunity to cruise through this is pretty remarkable and special, and I feel like we're rushing, but it's kind of just, it's the loop.
As we continued through the Trent-Severn Waterway, the landscape had more rocky sections lined with trees of varying green hues. Little did we know that this landscape was just the start of the Canadian Shield we'd be cruising through for the next several weeks. We were sad that our time on the Trent-Severn was coming to an end. It was pretty bittersweet.
For our last day on the Trent-Severn Waterway. We're honestly sad to leave, but excited for what's next. One more log.
Got a good day coming, and it's all I need. Everything I wanted is in front of me. It's looking up and down, sun is shining over me.
That was our last look! Oh my gosh. It's kind of sad. That was such a fun time. I feel like we should be doing it again because it was so much fun. It's like one of those rides at like at an amusement park that you just want to keep going on and on and on over and over and over again. Oh, that was fun. Good job, Captain.
Thank you.
We're in the Georgian Bay!
We made it!
The beauty of Georgian Bay came with the unique challenges of navigating through the Canadian Shield.
One of the things I'm being very careful with now that we're in the Georgian Bay, which is Rock City.
Cruising in a territory with a lot of rocks is very new to us and a little bit nerve-wracking just because every time that you do something new, it's a little scary.
The risk when you run around here is it's a hard grounding. These rocks have been here for millions of years. They're not moving. This theme, I'm sure, will be present all throughout the small boat channel and all throughout the Georgian Bay and the North Channel.
The Canadian Shield, also called the Laurentian Shield or Plateau, is a large area of exposed rock, or ancient geological core of the North American continent.
We're currently reversing out of this channel.
We almost ran into an island once.
Yeah.
No big deal. It was almost, we didn't actually run into the island.
I see markers over there.
The rocks were an obstacle around every corner and turn. It felt like we were navigating through a minefield.
There's two pretty exposed sections that we're going to be going through.
What makes this really challenging is A, it's exposed from the west, but B, all of the rocks are just below the surface, just below. So you're only navigating by markers.
This is just part of the Great Loop that's like kind of scary and kind of like difficult, challenging, is that you're constantly cruising in waters that you're not familiar with. Like even if you're from this area, then you go into other spots and you're not from that area, so you don't know exactly the ins and outs and whatever, and there's always something new and we are always learning. Always a student.
Often, the local flora would have very shallow yet spread out root systems. The trees were not well rooted into the ground.
Now we're gonna try to stern tie for the first time. You're not allowed to tie off to the trees, but the rocks are fair game. So part of the learning is what to do and how to do it, you know. I'm sure we will be quite more versed in this as we leave this region. Goodness.
That was a bit of a fail. We have no idea what we're doing, so we're figuring it out. The line got caught in the dinghy motor.
This is our third time stern tying ever. Like everything, we're just trying to evolve our strategy and figure out what works for us. And Jen's just gonna take the dinghy to shore.
That was our best stern tie to date.
Good job.
Yeah, that was actually pretty good. That life is meant to be lived. Time to jump in.
Our time in Georgian Bay was filled with jumping in the cool, fresh water.
Georgian Bay!
Hiking Georgian Bay Islands National Park.
This is it.
And visiting some of the best anchorages on our Great Loop. We were surrounded by locals enjoying their long summer days and boating season in full force. This boating community was something neither one of us grew up around, but we both fell in love with summer boating and felt lucky to be here to experience this. Not only were we having the best time, but so was Ollie.
Come on. Oh boy, gotta get the rock. Oh! She's still going. Oh my gosh.
Ollie,
Get the rock.
how was the rock adventure? Did you get them all? Yes, great job.
She like tried to put the brakes on and then realized she was sliding down.
After 1 week in Georgian Bay, it was time to keep cruising to our next region on the Great Loop. North Channel was our favorite section of the Great Loop. It is considered the best freshwater cruising grounds on the planet.
We're in the magical land of Canada. I don't think it ever gets old.
No.
No. I'm speechless. That's the best way to put it. I'm speechless.
North Channel is the northernmost point of our journey. Restarting our Great Loop just 5 months earlier and traveling 2,500 nautical miles to these secluded places left us with a sense of weightlessness. We traveled from one anchorage to another without the pressure of making miles on our shoulders. We honestly had no idea that places like this were even on the Great Loop.
Gorgeous.
Around each corner awaited us a stunning anchorage.
The Benjamins are known as the Hollywood anchorage in the area.
Mary Ann Cove was also my favorite anchorage. That was my absolute favorite hike that we have done in Canada so far.
Beautiful hikes.
Holy cow. Oh, we made it.
Whoa! Oh my gosh! This is incredible.
Crystal clear water to jump into.
I'll do that again, that was fun.
Dramatic waterfalls.
That was so fun.
And landscapes we never expected to take our very own boat through.
Is this the best part of the loop?
During our North Channel visit, we had 1 week of perfect weather conditions, sunshine and light winds.
But it's just been sun in the North Channel and like ending up the Georgian Bay.
We really lucked out. It was incredible, and we felt so lucky to have gotten such great conditions for exploring this region's raw beauty. We cruised through jaw-dropping landscapes that just got better and better. We felt like we were dreaming, and we didn't want to wake up.
Truly awesome. I feel sad leaving it because I know it's good.
Today's been probably one of my favorite days on the loop. Ollie equally loved North Channel, with the rocks she chased and the fresh water she swam in. Our time in North Channel was at a much slower pace than the rest of our time in Canada, which gave us time to soak it all in. As we enjoyed campfires with loopers while admiring the stars, we felt time slow down.
3, 2, 1. We're in the
United States.
And our 10th state.
Michigan!
Woo!
Leaving Canada was tough. It had just been the best summer of our lives, and we didn't want it to end.
In those sweet summer eyes, saying it's so right.
We made it through Canada. We made it through the Georgian Bay
And the North Channel without hitting a rock.
That's actually so impressive. I think I'm still in the I'm sad we left Canada mental state, but I'm also really proud of us. We did that. Frickin' frack who started it out.
Everybody starts somewhere.
Now, look at us, we did that.
Everybody started somewhere. We just decided to put it all on YouTube. We did a lot, but we left a lot to come back to.
We are celebrating today for being done with another section of the loop. Our time on the loop trying to do it last year really made us appreciate in a much deeper sense how special each section is on the loop this year. We reach a new section, and each time we do that, we can't believe we made it here. We can't believe, we're just in awe. And so today we're in awe that we're in the state of Michigan, and we're pleased.
With the final days of our good weather streak upon us, we visited an island paused in time. On Mackinac Island, there are no cars. Horses and buggies, as well as bikes, are the primary forms of transportation. Most visitors take a ferry to the island, but here we were on our own boat.
We just picked up some bikes for 24 hours, which we will use a lot tomorrow.
Light up the house and lock the door.
Today, unfortunately, marks the end of our great weather that we've had.
It was late August, and we knew the boating season on the Great Lakes was winding down as the hours and availability of local businesses were becoming fewer and fewer.
It's been 8 days since we last checked in with y'all. The weather has been awful.
And right now I think there's 15 boats in this marina and the marina next to us. So we've all been hunkered down.
And we are starting Lake Michigan. Definitely nervous.
Oh my gosh.
This was our first time cruising on Lake Michigan, so remembering our place as students on the water was vital. We entered the Straits of Mackinac in pure darkness.
The reason why we are leaving so early today is that today is Labor Day. They closed the Mackinac City Bridge. So there's a bridge walk. Coast Guard is setting up a security zone.
Our nerves about boating in the pitch black came with the highlight.
The Northern Lights were just to starboard. What do you think? That was incredible.
That is so freaking cool.
And seeing the Northern Lights wasn't even on our radar for the Great Loop, but we were thrilled to see them. Our experiences through large bodies of water leading up to Lake Michigan pushed us to stop at nothing if it meant calm conditions. As the sun rose, we turned 90 degrees south out of the Straits of Mackinac and hugged the Michigan shoreline down Lake Michigan.
Really hasn't been that great. It hasn't been bad.
The first few hours were a little rougher than we had hoped, so we played Bob Marley's 3 Little Birds on repeat for 6 straight hours. It's safe to say that we now know all of the lyrics to that song, and that song was also Elliot's Spotify Wrapped top song of 2022.
Third destination in Michigan. First on Lake Michigan.
Yay! Lake Michigan was a test of resolve for how many miles we travel in one day.
And we are making miles today.
We have very, very light winds.
Our first cruise set the tone for Lake Michigan. We would leave before the sun came up.
Why are we starting this early, you might ask? Because of weather. Good morning, Lake Michigan.
Good morning, Lake Michigan.
Good morning, Lake Michigan.
Looks like Michigan had a nice restful evening and is pretty calm for us this morning.
And enter protected harbors with just a few hours of sunlight left. We used our past experiences reading the weather to have the best chances of fun and safe cruises on Lake Michigan. Each day we reveled in just how lucky we were to have these calm conditions.
The weather is just divine.
After all, there are more recorded shipwrecks in Lake Michigan than the Bermuda Triangle and all of the other Great Lakes combined. The weather was not something to take lightly.
We're pulling up to our anchorage in South Manitou Island. The really cool thing is we're gonna be surrounded by shipwrecks. Babe, second day cruising on Lake Michigan.
That was a success.
Woo!
If you had told me during our first night on anchor that we'd be anchoring on Lake Michigan, I wouldn't have believed you. It turned out to be one of our favorite nights on anchor during our entire trip.
We are so grateful that Lake Michigan treated us so well. It is something I will be eternally grateful for the rest of my life.
We're really enjoying this. This is really enjoyable. Absolutely stunning cruising. Lake Michigan, 10 out of 10. Highly recommend. On good weather days, that's the key.
Each afternoon, we marveled at the beautiful coastal towns.
There's a lot of pride here.
The towns in Michigan have been so quintessential and charming and full of flavor. From Sleeping Bear Dunes to these dunes here, it has been dunes, dunes, dunes.
The dunes are huge. They're massive.
Which has been really cool because it's something that we haven't really seen a lot of on the Great Loop. So we're really enjoying this scenery.
If there was any downside to our amazing time in Canada,
we spent so much time getting here that now we don't have a lot of time to just sit back and enjoy because there's not that many good weather windows left in the season.
Like most things on the loop, we have to keep going. It just means that we'll have to come back one day.
when the weather shifted, we stayed put and focused on our goal of a fun passage through Lake Michigan. Before long, we had our final day on the Great Lakes.
Guess what?
We're in Indiana?
We're in Indiana!
Hey,
Woo!
State number 11!
State 11!
That's awesome! We did it!
Woo!
You know what?
What?
We got here by boat. Our boat.
Yes, we did.
Our last day on Lake Michigan was the most memorable and something that still makes me emotional thinking about it today. When the Chicago skyline appeared in the distance, it was easily the biggest emotional relief and joyful exuberance.
That's Chicago. Oh my god!
I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but we can see it.
I think I'm gonna cry. Like.
Wait till we get there.
Okay. I'm like, oh my god! Oh my god!
You have to be your biggest fan. And when things are really tough and they're really rough and nothing's working, but there's something inside of you that says, I just have to follow that. Because you don't know who you're gonna meet,
We did it! We got here by boat. A culmination of 3,000 miles led us to this moment. Seeing the Chicago skyline meant that we overcame countless obstacles, seized learning opportunities, and grew as boaters while traveling on America's Great Loop. It was not an easy 3,000 plus miles, but we'd never forget them. Previously, the Chicago skyline was just that, the Chicago skyline. Now, the Chicago skyline is much more than that. It's the feeling of accomplishment and joy and growth.
Chicago is right there. It just feels so surreal because we have been working towards Chicago for such a long time. And Chicago has been the deadline. There's no specific date to get to Chicago. There's just a general range. It just feels like the thing that we've been working so hard towards and keeping it in the back of our mind for, I don't even know, for such a long time. It's right here. Like, it feels like I can almost touch it. It's so crazy.
This has to be one of my favorite places that we've ever spent the night. This is
incredible. The skyline, incredible. The water, incredible. I mean, it's beautiful.
All right, we got the mast down. Got another 1.5 feet. Let's go. This is it. We're entering the rivers. We're entering the rivers.
With a height clearance of 17 feet, Pivot just barely fit to cruise down the Chicago River. Taking our own boat through the valley of architectural wonders along the Chicago River was magical.
We're here on our own boat.
Yeah. A few places on the Great Loop are as iconic and leave you with this deep sense of awe and wonder. The Chicago River is one of those places. This was easily one of those pinch me moments. Elliot reminded us to take in this moment, as it's not every day you get the opportunity to take your own boat down the Chicago River. Being here on our own boat was special, and it was meant to be savored.
This is crazy. That was one of the cruises that makes the loop. It sold me on the loop initially. So we're gonna cruise through downtown. No, it was worth every mile. Our boat is about to be electrified.
The water around our boat, technically.
Technically. Now, to stop invasive species, there is an electric field in the Chicago Sanitation Canal to prevent basically fish from coming from the Mississippi River up into the Great Lakes. Today is our first day on the Midwest rivers. We're not in the lakes anymore.
Woohoo!
Wow.
Yeah.
Ollie, woohoo!
Woo! Yeah.
We were officially off the Great Lakes and in protected waterways on the Midwest rivers.
Turning south off of the Chicago River brought us into the Illinois River. There's the Illinois River, and there's the Mississippi River. Ollie, we're in the Mississippi! Woo! We are now in the Ohio River. We're gonna be starting the Cumberland River soon. We are in the Tennessee River.
The rivers were filled with vast currents.
It was a new record high speed for Pivot, 13 knots, which means we had 6 knots of current with us.
Flying.
We were flying.
Which was soon enough countered with the opposing current on the Ohio River.
And we have slowed down considerably. We're going 5.5 knots.
Tons of wildlife.
There was literally a bald eagle drinking from the water as we were pulling in.
Tugs and barges, industry, and a lot of patience.
I just feel like traveling on the rivers is like synonymous with like have patience. Like you're not walking through these things like the Erie Canal or Trent-Severn Canal. You are waiting on the commercial traffic, and as long as that's your frame of mind, everything is great.
The Midwest rivers required coordination and teamwork among the boaters and loopers heading southbound.
So there's so much camaraderie, there's so much coordination. It really does feel like we got this.
As we traveled through countless locks.
There are, I think, 12, maybe 13, possibly 14 boats that are going in this lock to raft.
We quickly learned that commercial traffic took priority over pleasure boats like ourselves. Communicating with the tug and barges was like learning a new language.
You need to get caught up on the lingo, on the one, C on the one, C on the two, or the one horn, two horn, whatever, very quickly, because that's going to be key to our success.
The Midwest rivers are crucial in moving goods like grain, coal, sand, lumber, building materials, and petroleum products by tug and barge. Boating on waterways with large tugs carrying upwards of 30-plus barges meant that we needed to be extra cautious.
This barge here is telling everybody to get out of the way, and all these loopers are kind of in the way. They gotta go this way. Off to really the port. You should see on the one. That means port to port if it's dead on. So a little crazy. This barge almost hit a group of loopers leaving yesterday morning, and two looper boats actually collided and had a lot of damage. We gotta move. There's a law of momentum, conservation of mass. It is not going to stop for you, and it will not notice that it hit you. So get out of the way. A wide berth.
By this point, we had strengthened our boating problem-solving muscles, so finding anchorages, protected from the nightly tug and barge traffic.
There's a first for everything, folks, and when you're on the loop, there's frequently a first. Just off the channel and the Ohio River. And light up pivot like a Christmas tree.
So the barges can see us.
And it's really important to be very mindful of the barges because the barge will always win. Always. Doesn't matter your boat. They will win. Always. Or giving way to their wide turning radius didn't shock us at the task.
This part, like near the end of the Mississippi, it kind of just, it's a bend. And we've heard that in some of the tight corners, tugs will take up the entire channel.
Just a trick or trick while I wait on the side of the road. Pieces of you, pieces of me, last September.
We were in the flow, and it just felt good.
Let 'em go, yeah. Forever never was your favorite answer.
This is mind-blowing, having the arch right there.
It's so cool.
Well worth it.
We're in Missouri.
We're in Missouri. What state is this?
13.
13.
We're in a new state. Oh my gosh. Kentucky. 14 states. Wow. And state number
15. Woo! Tennessee.
We enjoyed a slower pace of life, which came at the perfect time. It was aligned with the changing of seasons, giving us cooler weather.
It is a cold one today.
Shorter days, and time to appreciate the small towns we visited, as it opened a window of opportunity to see the United States in a way we had never seen before.
To the tug and barge marina, quote unquote. It's not really a marina. And we're staying at Hoppy's. Cultural icon.
Cultural icon on the loop.
Leading up to the Midwest rivers, we heard from many boaters their bleak opinions of the rivers. Like most things, we wanted to experience the rivers and make our own judgments. We're glad we did, because the Midwest rivers were incredibly beautiful.
As it's just gotten more and more pretty the further in we've gone.
We have absolutely been loving our time cruising on the Mississippi River.
Like the fall foliage has continued to change. It's just so pretty.
We enjoyed farmers markets, ate copious amounts of baked goods and pie in all different forms.
Chess pie.
Levy high apple pie.
Mile high meringue pie.
Can we talk about pie anatomy? Genius! Wow, holy cow!
Like every other part of the Great Loop, the rivers presented us with new challenges to keep us on our toes and remind us that we were still students.
We've heard it's very much a cooperative effort between loopers. So far, that's the truth. At 6 o'clock here in Joliet, we met with all the loopers on the wall that are thinking about leaving today.
We're excited to learn yet another locking system.
And we are at the last boat coming into the lock, and the lock tender just said we are all on the starboard floater. Now, I don't know exactly what a floater is, but we are about to find out.
Thank you. Thanks for grabbing the line.
What a beautiful morning.
Hi there, Ollie.
Got your life jacket on as you go off? Yeah.
First lock in, successful. This is a completely new style of lock for us.
Do the rock star pose.
Man, this lock is massive.
That was our first lock through at sunset ever.
Although we had learned the importance of not having a schedule on a boat, we did have a schedule going southbound. Unlike the spring rendezvous, we made backup plans in case we didn't make it there in time, which helped relieve the pressure of travel, planning, and weather. We presented our first talk on anchoring at the AGLCA Fall Rendezvous.
We have a lot of content to cover.
And met countless people with a shared interest in the Great Loop. At the AGLCA Fall Rendezvous, a Gold Looper recommended taking as many of the side trips as possible. There are countless side trips on the Great Loop, meaning that boaters can explore connected waterways further, albeit they must retrace their steps back to the main Great Loop route. The two most popular Midwest river side trips include the Cumberland River to Nashville and the Tennessee River to Chattanooga.
That'll test your mind and test your strength. Leave you feeling all alone, but always find a way to bring you home.
We enjoyed the fall foliage down the Cumberland River to
Nashville! We can see all the tall buildings of downtown just straight ahead, which is very exciting.
Yeah, it's the end of our side trip.
And eating the best cronuts.
It's like a croissant mixed with a donut.
And enjoyed seeing our boat with the Nashville skyline behind it, before turning around and retracing our steps to rejoin the Great Loop route. Traveling down Kentucky Lake was relaxing.
I am just so happy to be taking this in. We have almost like glass conditions. It is absolutely stunning. Made for such a nice cruise. There's been a few barges, but not that much traffic at all. Perfect kind of cruising day.
Making miles.
Making miles.
And memories.
Well, be careful not to waste it while planning how to make it, 'cause it only comes once and it don't last long. Always remember it ain't something you can put on hold. Don't let it pass you by. Let it unfold.
We were falling into a routine that felt more like boat life instead of loop life, now that we didn't have a Chicago deadline hanging over our heads.
These clouds are insane right now. The reflection makes it literally look like we're cruising through the clouds. This is unreal. So beautiful. Probably one of our most beautiful mornings. This is awesome.
We opted to explore the Tennessee River on the Chattanooga side trip because we didn't know when we'd have the opportunity to explore this area by boat again. We knew that part of the reason that made this trip so special in the first place was that we were traveling by our own boat.
16, state number 16!
State number 16! Woo!
115 nautical mile journey upstream all the way to Chattanooga, Tennessee.
The first stop was to Florence and Muscle Shoals, Alabama.
We have officially made it to Florence Harbor Marina. Now,
Alabama!
Alabama!
State number 17! Woohoo!
Our planned one-night stay quickly turned into two when we visited the attractions.
It's the birthplace of Helen Keller, Fame Recording Studios.
Muscle Shoals Recording Studio. That was probably some of the most simple but the best live music that we've ever listened to. The Tennessee River had some of the largest locks we had ever seen.
This is a pretty giant lock, to be honest. I mean, this is, I don't know, like 70 feet or something. This is a big lock, babe. That's huge. Wow.
As the doors towered over us, we felt like specks in the lock chambers. We easily navigated through the locks thanks to the dozens of previous locks that we had been through leading up to this point.
Hey, we're off.
We took life at a slower pace after the past several months had been non-stop. Our time on the Tennessee River was much needed. At a slower pace of life, enjoying the river's natural beauty.
Wow. We're like literally cruising next to like a sheer cliff. That is incredible.
And many of the stops along the way, including the free docks.
We are heading to the Ingalls Harbor Free Dock. The city harbor here in Guntersville has really blown my expectations out of the water.
Looking at the sky, wondering why this feels like home.
Like a Tennessee River in the morning takes your breath without a warning.
Feels like home.
Like smoke rising up from the mountains, all the beauty surrounds.
Feels like home.
Like Elvis and 'cause it feels like
Our flag has been through some stuff. Man, that's how you know we're doing it right.
feels like
We're supposed to be going through the Grand Canyon of the East. And really this side trip has just gotten more and more and more beautiful.
looking at the sunset. It'll make you forget all the troubles
We are really excited to get to downtown Chattanooga.
It's kind of funny how windy our route is to get to Chattanooga. If you want to travel fast, do not travel by boat. And do not travel by trawler.
Our 215 nautical miles side trip is almost halfway done. We're almost halfway done.
from the mountains, all the beauty stuff.
feels like
Like Elvis and Dolly singing a melody that's bringing you.
We're in Chattanooga. We made it.
We made it.
By boat.
By boat.
Our boat.
Wow.
We got ourselves here by boat.
Yeah.
We spent 2 weeks visiting with family,
We have my parents visiting us.
meeting new friends. We spent Thanksgiving with the harbor hosts, Bruce and Maggie. It was the restful time we were looking for. After 2 weeks in Chattanooga, the seasons were changing.
My fingers are icicles.
What I did not expect was for there to be frost. I feel like we're doing this trip to Chattanooga like a week late. Yeah, as you can see from our breath, it is very cold.
It is so much more chilly. I think it's time to head south.
And it was time for us to retrace our tracks.
It's the end of a chapter. How do you feel?
Bittersweet, bittersweet.
We were now in the final stretch of the Midwest rivers.
Today is our first day on the Tennessee-Tombigbee Waterway, and we have a treat this morning. If you didn't know, the Bahamas has a famous island full of pigs, but on the loop, we have an island full of goats. What do you think, Ollie? Some friends? The Tombigbee Waterway Canal is the biggest civil project ever completed by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and it's 5 times longer than the Panama Canal. It's crazy.
Our trip down the Tennessee-Tombigbee Waterway coincided with a few other loopers, including New Bearings and Salty Lady.
This is the exact reason why it's nice to buddy boat, because you're kind of a pack, so there's strength in numbers.
And our buddy boat just ran aground right there, or hard aground. We're gonna see how we can help them.
You're good? All good.
Mission accomplished.
Or in receiving help,
Bruce on our buddy boat New Bearing has graciously taken myself and Ollie to shore this. To Bruce and Leanne from New Bearing for helping us and just being great buddy boat partners and helping take Ollie out in the mornings. It's been really, really nice. Thank you, Bruce. You're the man.
MVP.
MVP.
we enjoyed the teamwork that comes with the rivers in the form of buddy boats. The Tennessee-Tom developed our friendships with the crew of these boats, and something we really enjoyed. Having buddy boats made going through the Tennessee-Tom's 16 locks more efficient as we were all packed together.
Our first lock on the Tennessee-Tom.
First walk on the Tennessee-Tom. Woohoo! Baby.
They take their toll in the lake, so save your soul in the friend.
How epic was that? The lock was massive and the doors open and it's like we're entering a whole new world.
Ollie's making sure everything is in line.
The boatyard is kind of getting stuck. Whoa.
When I'm dead and gone, turn to the dust and dirt where I belong. Pray my love will linger.
We joked that the Tennessee-Tom rarely had reliable buoys for navigation,
Red buoy on this side, which should be a green.
as the majority of the buoys that we saw were on the shorelines or in the front of barges.
Oh my gosh, there's a buoy. Majority of the markers on the Tennessee-Tom
Are at the bottom of a barge.
are at the bottom of a barge.
A large storm dumped a ton of rainwater in the region.
Look at that
water that is raging. They had so much rain, tornadoes all around Mississippi. How we are affected is in today's cruise, a lot of really fast current.
Holy cow.
The current is like absolutely ripping. But with all the rain, we are going fast.
Also known as free speed.
11 knots. Wow, that's fast. There is a ton of debris in this lock. Half of a tree.
Or a refrigerator door.
I feel like I'm kind of driving through minefields today because there's so much debris in the water. Yet another new type of cruise for us here on the Loop, many days into it.
It was just another hurdle to jump over and learn from as we continued to be students of the water.
That's what's fun about the Loop. Like, you're always in a different circumstance, a different environment, and a different situation, and it really helps you learn the differences in boating in these areas.
That's the beauty of the Great Loop. You're on your own journey, but it's also the same journey as everybody else, so you can bond with people.
We were part of the tail end of loopers as we spent so much time in the Midwest rivers, which meant that we endured cold weather throughout much of our time on the Tenn-Tom.
It's like 40 degrees.
It is 28 degrees right now. There is ice on the boat.
My boat pole is frozen. Great, I'm trying to tuck in because it's cold.
We've been sleeping in the salon lately because
body heat.
Body heat.
Ollie was over the cold weather too.
I, for one, cannot wait for warmer weather.
The flooding conditions made anchoring more challenging.
It says it's 18 feet right now. Our depth finder is saying 43 feet. So that's about 25 feet of additional water. Because it really affects where we go to anchor tonight. And safety and being able to drop the hook and have enough scope. All of those things.
We anchored in packs along the side of the river, hoping that the tug captains would see all of our anchor lights and our buddy boats on AIS. We made our way through the final lock on the Tenn-Tom.
Do you want a chocolate to celebrate our last lock?
Yeah.
This is the sweetness of our last lock because we're heading south.
Yeah. Cheers.
I love you.
Love you. So bittersweet that this is our last lock. I really enjoy the rivers and I really enjoy locking. Coffeyville Lock, the last lock. I don't know what number it is, so we'll put it on the screen here.
Last horn.
Woo!
Last lock.
We are out of freshwater too. So right now we're in brackish going into salt.
We're taking the high road.
The Tenn-Tom has some notorious curves which make navigating the river with tugs and barges challenging.
We're going into the figure 8 of the river.
This also meant that we were back in tidal water, something that we hadn't been on since the Hudson River. Remembering to check the tide charts daily.
The tide chart's out because, we're in tides again.
After 2 weeks of traveling on the Tenn-Tom, we arrived in Mobile, Alabama, and were immediately immersed with the industry from this major shipping port.
Salt water.
Salt water.
Whoa.
Dolphins welcomed us back into salt water as they swam at our bow. Pelicans flew by our boat, reminding us of the environment we re-entered.
I hope you didn't poop in our dinghy.
United States Coast Guard, Sector Mobile, Alabama. Temperatures are expected to drop significantly in the low 20s and teens. Wind chill and hard freeze warnings will be in effect throughout the Gulf Coast from tonight through Christmas morning.
It's gonna be cold the next few days.
Our Great Loop was always full of firsts, and this is the first time that we had icicles on our boat. We enjoyed a Looper Christmas with our buddy boats and other Great Loop boats, as well as a surprise visit.
For Christmas this year, we have my mom and Luke.
Christmas was uncomplicated as we enjoyed delicious food with good company, and we're grateful for the simplicity.
Makes us really feel the love and the community of the Loop. We got feedback from 2 of the other Loopers that it was their favorite Christmas they've had since they were kids.
After spending Christmas in Mobile, we had a good weather window to cross Mobile Bay and enter the Gulf Intra-Coastal Waterway. We had one goal: for the Florida Panhandle.
And our number one priority for the next 2 weeks is to find a day like this for crossing the Gulf. So we are just really paying attention to the weather like hawks.
Prepare for a safe and comfortable Gulf crossing.
Oh my God!
What a welcome. That is the biggest welcome to the saltwater.
We left Alabama and entered Florida, the final state of our Great Loop.
What state are we in? Florida, baby! We made it back to our state that we started the loop.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Wow. That's a moment. That is a moment right there.
As we traveled along the Gulf ICW, we had a small taste of what the Gulf of Mexico can be like.
This is the Pensacola Inlet right here. It's coming out of the southeast, so that means we should be feeding into it when we cross over.
As we passed by an inlet that had 5 feet of swell. Thankfully, with large periods. It scared me and brought our feet to the ground as it reminded us that we are still students after all. It was short enough to keep us focused on the goal at hand.
I think we're good. Right here. Woo!
Have a safe and comfortable Gulf crossing. With each low point we experienced more high points that gave us memories for a lifetime. Riding these waves of highs and lows was a constant theme of our Great Loop journey, as we were learning every day whether we are ready to ride the waves or not.
The dolphins carried us through there at the end.
We traveled to Navarre Beach, where we rang in the new year with our Loop friends. A few days later, a weather window was starting to look promising, so we began to stage our Gulf crossing as we cruised to Panama City Beach.
Into the marina, we're gonna go enjoy some looper docktails, which we haven't had in a long time. They're gonna be discussing the crossing, which will be good. There's a lot of loopers here, and a lot of loopers are ready to cross the Gulf, so we'll have a lot of friends to cross with.
Followed by Apalachicola and then Dog Island. As we made our way to our anchorage, we saw the pack of loopers leaving for their overnight crossing. This group of boats had the same plan as us to take advantage of the great weather window.
It's really crazy seeing all the boats leaving from Caraval right now.
Wow, it's happening, it's here, we're doing this thing. It's gonna be great, thinking positive thoughts.
The Gulf crossing was our last large stretch of open water on this journey and the last major task we needed to complete before we could see the finish line in the distance. There are 2 routes a boater can take from the protected waters of the Gulf ICW. The Gulf crossing, as the name implies, crosses the Gulf of Mexico from the Panhandle to the west coast of Florida, whereas the Big Bend is done in shorter stints over multiple days and primarily hugs the coast. We left Dog Island early one cold January morning.
It's time for the crossing.
Today's the day that we cross the Gulf of Mexico. So we have a buddy boat that we'll be traveling with, New Bearings.
If you want to be a sailor, you gotta leave port.
Yeah.
Ain't nothing to it but to do it.
Look at that sunrise.
Yeah, sailing directly into it.
Woohoo! That is beautiful. Smile with the rising sun. That song.
Bob Marley's 3 Little Birds, but it's perfect because we are cruising into the rising sun. And we have no worries.
Lands.
No way! Hey! That's what I like to see.
After cruising over 5,000 nautical miles, we had learned a thing or two about weather and what conditions we liked cruising in, and what we can handle on our boat. We were well aware that our boat can handle much more than we can, but we're pleasure boaters after all. We were out here to have fun and enjoy the journey, so being patient and waiting for comfortable cruising conditions was crucial. Mother Nature gave us 4 consecutive days of impeccable weather. We felt like the luckiest people on Earth as we enjoyed the calm conditions, dolphins, and beautiful sunrises and sunsets.
Literally, this is the best experience ever. Like, this is absolutely
fabulous. And it just kind of like, it makes me think back, like with, I don't know, I get kind of emotional thinking back, because it just makes me feel like how much we've grown and how much we've learned and how much we've improved. So yeah, I'm really proud of us. I'm really proud of Elliot, and I'm just like loving it. Taking the Big Bend route led to one of our favorite destinations on the Great Loop. I think this landscape here might just be one of my like top landscapes on the loop. Crystal River. We enjoyed taking our dinghy through the canals to see the manatees in the springs.
That was incredible. Like everything we hoped it would be and more.
By the fourth and final day of our Gulf crossing, I was grateful for the incredible conditions we had for this journey. Just past the last set of markers, which means that we are now in the Gulf of Mexico. And today's weather is impeccable.
We are cruising off into the sunset, folks, and we are getting close to being done with our Gulf crossing. Like, there's still a little bit of Gulf, like right where the boat is, but just a little bit. We're gonna celebrate tonight. Ollie's still on her perch, in case you guys were wondering. Dolphin posting. How does it feel?
I can't believe we did it.
You didn't cry a single time.
I know, now I'm crying. But they're tears of joy. Oh my gosh. I honestly think this is one I like don't want it to end. Like today was so good.
It was.
Today was so good. Reflecting on the past 4 days made me realize that all of these challenges, obstacles, and learning opportunities and pivotal moments along the way were required for me to have this level of gratitude I had at this moment. It was those hard moments that made this moment even sweeter.
We officially are finished with our Gulf crossing.
You put this in the freezer?
Yeah.
Oh, how nice. We're celebrating tonight. Popping bottles.
What a very fun, enjoyable, and safe Gulf crossing.
Yeah. I'm so happy.
Believe me. Believe me.
The west coast of Florida felt like we could see the finish line ahead.
It just feels like we're back in Florida. Back with all the development, all the people, all the boats, and a new type of loop from the last couple months.
We had returned to our home state, which meant that we were able to see many of our friends and family members. Traveling on the west coast gave us opportunities to catch up with looper friends and explore new towns we had never visited before. Even though these waterways were new to us, cruising felt familiar. We knew how to plan for the tides, what kinds of bottom conditions to expect when we anchored, and the overall boating culture in Florida.
Really big news for where we're going today. We just found out where we're going last night, which is not actually atypical for us.
We're pivoting!
We're pivoting!
Shocker!
We're doing the Caloosahatchee River to Lake Okeechobee and gonna cross our wake in Stuart.
Instead of cruising all the way south to Marathon, if there's one thing that we've embraced on this journey, it's the ability to pivot. I mean, it's what brought us here, on this boat and on the Great Loop in the first place. We took it in strides, and it gave me an opportunity. I didn't take advantage of any of the opportunities presented to me to go through a lock with me at the helm. And so since we're doing this route, I feel like this is the perfect opportunity, but this is it. This is the opportunity. So seizing it, and hopefully it goes well. My tight handling skills of pivot aren't really like well practiced, so today is practice.
Give you that line and a stern line.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Good job! Good job! Got to a lock wall.
Got to a lock wall, but for the first time, I would say I wasn't too shabby, so pretty happy with it. But let's be real, then I have to get off of it, so you know,
Don't want to celebrate too early.
121 miles to finish our loop.
Okay, seeing that sign is pretty crazy.
Choosing a route based on a favorable wind conditions reiterated the respect we had of Mother Nature and the water.
The largest lake in Florida, I think, Lake Okeechobee.
We were a bit concerned coming up to this lock because of all the winds today, and we're on the other side of the lake, so theoretically the wave height is the worst out here. But Lake Okeechobee has this thing called the rim route. That is some protection out there. Woo woo!
There's Lake Okeechobee. Cool.
I can't believe we're here on our boat.
I know, right?
We took a long way to get here.
We did come the long way around.
Yeah.
And 78 miles until we finish our loop. That is just, it's just unreal.
Our AGLCA burgee doesn't look like the perfectly starched burgee we initially bought. Each tear and rip in the fabric represents the challenges we experienced to learn how to boat and grow as individuals. As we look at the burgee, we see the courage and perseverance two people had to endure the necessary growth that accompanies a trip like this. We enjoyed the calm, protected waters of the Okeechobee Waterway, which gave us time to reflect on this journey. The Great Loop is a journey about persistence, showing up each day and moving forward mile by mile. We tried to reflect on how far we'd come throughout this journey, but our last few days on the Great Loop gave us the opportunity and mental space to really take in these last few moments. This pivot in our plans led us to enjoy one of our favorite anchorages on the loop at the southern part of Lake Okeechobee. Our last night on anchor as loopers was peaceful, and we were surrounded by birds and alligators in the water.
Our last time turning on pivot as regular loopers. As normal loopers. I don't know the term for it. Before we're gold. Oh man, I'm so ready. It's time to go across our wake. Good job. All right. Bueno, good job, baby. Hi there, sir. We're the vessel that called when we were docked.
Stand by and starboard side.
Copy that, thank you. Sweet! Last log through could be ever, for sure, on this loop. Man, feels really good to let loose those lines. It feels really, really, really good. Now we just gotta wait. It's our very last lock of the loop. Definitively so this time. What's our motto?
Lower than slow.
Hey buddy, how you doing?
How are you guys doing today?
Amazing, how about yourself?
I cannot complain. All right, thank you, sir.
Last lock is done.
Almost done.
Almost.
You wanna do the honors?
Sure.
Whoop, whoop.
never been better. Living real, real good.
And that is pretty much the end of the Okeechobee Waterway. We're coming up on a town called Palm City on our port side and then South Fork on our starboard side as we kind of turn the bend, and then Stuart will be on the corner. We have a little bit of the wind. You can feel it now. It's coming out of the southeast today. And it's pretty strong wind. The Coast Guard came on the radio, said there was a small craft advisory, 15 to 20. So out of the southeast, of course the ocean is over there, so.
Just past that bridge is where
we cross our wake, 15 minutes, 1.7 nautical miles.
Oh my god.
It is within sight almost. You're just gonna turn the corner.
It is crazy.
How does it feel?
It feels really emotional right now.
We're just cheesing.
Because I'm just so happy for today.
Old Roosevelt Bridge, Old Roosevelt Bridge. This is motor vessel Pivot heading eastbound, and we'd like to request your next opening.
The next opening time would be at 1:30.
That sounds great. We will stand by. Sweet. So we have about 20 minutes to wait.
Our loop is now 20 minutes longer.
Oh shoot, I need to get over.
Skirt.
Just in the moment, you know.
Yeah, the red is right there.
Yeah.
We were going that way.
Whoops.
We're just enjoying it. It's time for the bridge to open. It's been about, I don't know, we've been waiting for about 20 minutes, and the bridge engineers came out and said, so the railroad bridge just blared its horn that it's gonna be closing soon, and she said that we could try to still open and beat it, but she doesn't recommend it. We're not gonna try to beat a train on a boat.
Trains always win.
The train will win. You know our motto, slower than slow, trawler speed. The Anchorage does have white caps, so it's not all just sunshine and roses on board boat life. Just because we're crossing our wake in about 5 minutes.
The real life behind the camera. It is very windy and there's lots of white caps, but that cannot wipe the smile off our faces today.
We're so close!
Oh my god!
It is so windy out here. White caps everywhere. Doesn't matter.
After like a certain amount of time, our tracks are not there, but our marked locations are. So that's why we have this mark for the anchorage.
I think we just completed America's Great Loop.
Over 5,000 miles. At this point, it may honestly be more like 10,000 miles, specifically if there's statute miles of just how long it's taken us to do this. But man, oh, it feels so good. All right, let's drop our anchor.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, ready? Yeah. Drop our anchor. Ooh, here.
Babe. We did it!
We did it! Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! Should we turn off Linda for the very last time?
Yes, turn off the boat.
You wanna do you do the honors.
Okay. Wow.
Should we change our flag?
Let's do it. And celebrate!
For the occasion, we have some champagne, because champagne, why not?
And
we are wasting no time. Immediately, let's change this flag out. Stop! All right, now you gotta put the new one on.
okay.
Oh, my goodness.
And she's not torn.
One day, the mountain that is in front of you will be so far behind you, it will barely be visible in the distance. But the person you become in learning to get over it, that will stay with you forever. And that's the point of the mountain.
Whoa! How does it look?
I may be biased, but I think it looks fabulous. Thank you, Pivot! Whoa, whoa!
All right,
We just washed Pivot!
Ollie's doing her job. Thank you. Champagne's everywhere. Worth it. You did great, Ollie.
Go ahead, come on up.
You got all of the rocks up in Canada.
Oh yeah, and that might need it. Let me get the thing.
Good job. Ollie, you're gold. We should have... It is ripped to shreds. We actually made it! The boat made it! We made it! Oh.